The rest of you can turn to the book of John. Oh. I've got to get our little visual aid right quick here. All right. Bill, can you see that? Yes. How about you, Margaret? Can you see that all right? I can come up a little more. All right. Now, you don't need to pay any attention to that right now. Is there anybody in the congregation, the seamstress? You can sew? Okay, Raylene, we need to add about 4, maybe 5 more inches to Bill's skirt before Bible school. That's just a little bit more of a bill than I want to see right now. If you're wondering why I'm wearing a t-shirt to preach, I can just feel the scandal brewing. I knew it. It's just a matter of time. He'd be up there preaching in a t-shirt. The reason I'm wearing a t-shirt is here, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks ago, I saw one of our young ladies at a ballpark. And she had, I don't know if it's exactly like this one, but she had a t-shirt that said, "Make Heaven Crowded." And it was just like, when I saw that and I read that, I thought, thank you, Jesus, because he told me to pay attention to that. Because basically, you can ask Shelley, I don't like t-shirts with words on them. I live in t-shirts, but I don't like t-shirts with words on them. But I saw that and I thought, that is our goal for the First Baptist Church of Goodman right there. That is what we're all about. We're about making heaven crowded. So I just wanted to wear this today to let you know that's all I care about, making heaven crowded. All right, John chapter 19, verse 30. John 19:30. We're just going to read one verse here. So when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished." And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Sometimes one word can make a huge difference, right? Say this old boy, he's out to dinner with a woman and he gets down on one knee and he's digging out a ring box. And I mean, he's sweating like a nanny goat in a pepper patch. And he looks up at her and he opens that box and he says, "Will you marry me?" What happens next, the course of his whole life, hinges on one word, don't it? That word would be yes. I mean, yes, all right. Whew. 10 years later, he comes in the house. He's been at work all day. There's something in the oven. He says, "Honey, is that a coconut cream pie?" She turns around and says, "Yes." Boy, still honeymooning. But there's one word, and we're going to learn that word today, that makes a bigger difference in your life than all the combined words you've heard up until now. It'll make the biggest difference in your life. And I feel like I ought to be wearing one of them yellow sweater vests with a red tie and some of them little round wire-rimmed glasses like them doctor preachers wear, because this is a Greek word. You're going to learn some Greek today. Are you ready for that? But before we get to our one word, we got to get the context here. We got to see where we're at. At this point right here in John chapter 19, verse 30, Jesus is on the cross. He's had his clothes ripped from his back. And then he's had the flesh stripped from his back with a cat of nine tails. He's had 9-inch nails driven through his hands and through his feet. He's been beat, he's been spit on, and he's been mocked. And after all of that, and after the flesh was ripped off his back with a whip, he had a 90-pound rough-sawn beam placed on that bare flesh on his back. It's probably a 6x6. Now at this point, in verse 28, he says, I thirst. And when he says this, it says somebody put a sponge attached to a branch of hyssop, dips it in sour wine and vinegar, and sticks it up to his mouth. Now you've probably all read that maybe 100 times. It's recorded in all 4 Gospels, and you might have thought that this was a mercy. I did for years. I thought, well, at least he got one act of kindness through all this. But in studying what we're actually going to today, I found something out about that sponge and that stick. All you boys that hunt a lot and have jobs where you work outside, you all have something in common. You all have a roll of something behind the seat of your truck. Because in a lot of places you go, there ain't no Porta Johns, there ain't no Casey's General Stores. Now this person, according to the book of Mark that holds this up, was a Roman soldier. And Roman soldiers carried a kit with them. You call it a backpack. They didn't have backpacks, but Roman soldiers had a kit. And in this kit, they carried something called a torsorium. A torsorium was a sponge that they attached to a short stick, and they carried a little flask of fragrant liquid, much like vinegar or sour wine. And that's what they used to wipe their backside. That's pretty gross, isn't it? This wasn't a mercy. This was the final insult. And after that, in our English translation, it says that Jesus bowed his head and he said, "It is finished," and gave up the spirit. What he actually said was one word, and it's a Greek word. He said, Tetelestai. Say it with me. Tetelestai. We're going to learn this because you're going to be using it several times during this message. So one more time, louder. Tetelestai. Tetelestai. Okay. Whenever I point at it, if I remember to point at it, we're all going to say it together, all right? Now what's interesting is this word, the Greek language isn't like ours. They have, where we have one word that we can use in a lot of different contexts. They didn't have that. This word tetelestai is only used in 3 contexts. You wouldn't mow the yard and put your mower up and head for the house and go tetelestai. You wouldn't feed the dogs and come in and your wife says, "Did you feed the dogs?" And you'd say, "Well, tetelestai." You wouldn't do that. So here's the 3 contexts. The first one, in Roman times, if you borrowed a lot of money, say you borrowed, say from Dean Freund here, you go down to Dean Freund's and you borrow $150,000. Dean would have a contract. And every time you made a payment on that loan, he would document it. And after all those years, when your debt's finally paid off, I don't care if it's Capital One, Ford Motor Credit, boy, that's a good feeling, ain't it? I was like a lot of other young people. For years, I had car payments, truck payments in my case. The worst thing in the world, one of the greatest senses of freedom I ever got was when I paid off the last vehicle I owed money on. And I said, never again am I going to owe money on a vehicle. But when you went down to Dean with that last payment, Dean would hand you that document, hand you that contract, and across the top, he would have written, Tetelestai. The debt's been paid. That's the first context that word be used in. The second context the word's used in is when, say, now Mr. Dean Freund has been convicted of a crime. He went to court and he was found guilty. And he's been sentenced to 10 years of hard labor. I mean, making little uns out of big uns in the hot Missouri sun every day. And he's counting off the days. Finally, 9 years, 365 days, he marks off that last one. And the guard comes and gets him and leads him out. And the warden of that prison has a document there, and it's a court document, the one they handed down when Dean was sentenced guilty. And he hands it to Dean to show his freedom. And across the top of that document, it's been stamped and sealed, Tetelestai. He's free. He's free. The debt's been paid. The debt to society has been paid, because the wages of sin is death. The third context, and I love this one. When an invading army, say an invading army, and this is Roman times, but we're going to apply it to us, all right? Old Jake comes in, he came in off B Highway, and he says, doggone boys, he says, I seen an invading army that's down by May, and they're coming this way. So we all gathered up inside the city wall. They're going to lay siege to us out there around Goodman Gas and Tire, and they're going to surround us, and they're going to attack us, and their goal is they're going to steal, kill, and destroy everything in our city. Well, in Roman times, they fought their battles, they fought their wars with swords and spears. That's a pretty nasty business, amen? I mean, I'd a lot rather be shot than have a spear stuck through my guts. But that's what they had back then. So even if you won a battle, even if you won the war, it was at a great cost. So what they would do, both sides had to agree to this. What they would do is the invading army would send forth a man. Our city would send forth a man, more than likely Dirty Don. And they're going to fight in a location. And whoever wins, you're going to think of David and Goliath, and that's absolutely right. Whoever wins the victory, if old Don wins our victory, we get to have that abundant life again. If Don goes down, they're coming for us. They're going to steal, kill, and destroy us. And when Don goes out, when he leaves the city, there's a delegation goes with him. And there's one man going to go also. Let me look around here. I need a really fast runner. Let's say Paul Sprinkle goes. He's the fastest runner we got. And he goes out there. And there's a name for Paul, for this guy that goes. It's evangelion. There's another Greek word for you. Evangelion. It's where we get our word evangelist. Where the word evangelist comes from. So remember in Romans 10, verse 15, boy, I thought Debbie was going to wade right into this morning. Let me read it to you right quick. Romans 10, 15, and how shall they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the gospel of peace. Listen to this, who bring glad tidings of good news. This is an evangelion, an evangelist. He spreads the gospel. What's the gospel? The good news. Okay, Don's went out for the challenge. Paul's went along. He's our evangelion because he's our fast runner. He goes out to witness the fight. Boy, it's nip and tuck for a while, but Don's victorious. Our man achieved victory. Paul takes in a running back to the city gate. He gets to the city gate and everybody's waiting. Everybody's on pins and needles. And with a loud voice, he proclaims, the victory's been won. The abundant life is ours. So, let's read 19 verse 30 again. So when Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, Tetelestai. And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. At this point right here, your sin debt was paid in full. The judgment for your sin, which is death, was satisfied. The victory over our enemy was complete. Your sin debt was paid. Jesus paid the penalty for you. So in all three contexts, he could say Tetelestai, because it's done. Everything that needed to be done was done right there. He did all of that. So listen, I don't want any confusion. Following Jesus is not about trying. Y'all got that? You hear people say all the time, well, I'm trying to do better. I'm trying not to sin. I'm trying to quit that. I'm trying to quit this. It's not about trying. It's all about trusting. It's all about trusting. I'm not surprised when I see lost people all agitated, angry, and alarmed, and just going crazy. I mean, we look out at the world and it's all around us. You see them on TV, you see them in the streets, it's everywhere. They live in a state of turmoil. The Antichrist is coming, and these people are ripe for the picking. I'm not surprised when I see lost people doing that, because their trust is in the world. Their trust is in people, in power, in possessions, in policies. Our trust is in Jesus and what He's done. So when He sucker punches you coming around the corner, you don't panic. You say, well, I'm thankful for Jesus. I couldn't whoop him on my own. I couldn't whoop him with Jason helping me. And Jason's, he's rougher than a cob. But I couldn't take him on my own. But thank God Jesus said Tetelestai, and that's all He can do. It's like Shelley thinks it's fun, or if I had a big life insurance policy, I'd really be skeptical, but I don't. So I'm really not sure why she does it. But everyone, not very often, she'll let me get complacent, and I'll come out of a room, and the lights are kind of down, or it may even be dark, and she goes, "Ah!" like that to me. Here I am, an elderly man, on taking blood pressure medicine. She gets some kind of perverted thrill out of it. But that's all the devil can do, because Jesus has done won the battle. He done paid the price. He done served the sentence. It's done. All he can do is boo! And yeah, it'll make you jump. It'll make your old heart beat fast. It'll make you say, don't do that. For the love of God, don't do that. You're giving me, what's that word? Incontinence. But He's going to do it. But our trust is in Jesus and what He's done. Turn to Psalm chapter 9. I'm almost done, so you stay awake. Psalm chapter 9. Psalm chapter 9, verse 10. We all there? It says, and those who know your name will put their trust in you. For you, Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. Those who know your name. What's His name? Jesus. Jesus. Now turn over to Psalm chapter 20, verse 7. And it says, some trust in chariots and some in horses. In other words, power, might. Some trust in chariots, some in horses. But we will remember the name of the Lord our God. What's His name? Jesus. We know that because on the cross, the last thing He said was, Tetelestai. It's done. It's done. When I get anxious about the state of the world and this coming Antichrist, all I have to do is remember what Jesus said when He said Tetelestai. He'd paid my debt. He served my sentence. He defeated the enemy, and I trust Him. Psalm 56:11 says, in God I've put my trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? In God I will put my trust. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Where do you have your trust? Where's your trust at? Because that makes all the difference. We're going to have an invitation.